New Year! Happy New Year! In case you didn't have a wild enough time last night, we have a recipe for today that's going to keep the party going.
Oh, really?
Yes, so grab your ice pick and your eyedropper and let's get started.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to Mom's Wooden Spoon.
Get your apron on and your fanny flicker ready as we cook up some nostalgia.
Ooh, yummy.
We are celebrating another upcoming obscure holiday today.
Ooh, sounds like fun.
And in case you were looking for a reason to have some friends over and New Year's isn't a good enough excuse,
Yeah.
fear not, we are here to tell you that January 2nd is Buffet Day.
Ooh, buffet.
Yeah, so you could totally head out to your local Golden Corral.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, or Scarf Mart, as we like to call it.
Good old Scarfies. Yeah.
Or maybe you want to have a whole bunch of people over for a potluck.
Nice.
Set it up buffet style.
Oh, that sounds fun.
And speaking of potluck,
Yes.
that brings me to the recipe of the day.
Mhm.
It is not from a Mary's Memo. It's actually from a cookbook titled I Hate to Cook book.
It is the best book ever.
Oh my gosh, it's from the 1960s.
Yep.
The author, whom I'm not going to tell you because I don't know.
The author is Peg Bracken.
Okay, so Ms. Bracken, in addition to being a cook, also a comedian.
Oh, and you can tell in the book.
You totally can tell.
This would have been the absolute perfect book for our mom.
Yeah, well, and no surprise then that we got this cookbook from someone who is very good friends with our mom.
Oh, yes, indeed. So this cookbook actually belonged to my dear friend Christopher's mom, and her name is Sally, and Sally is really good friends with our mom.
I think it's perfect. Clearly, we know why.
Clearly.
Yeah, it was because they were not spending all their time cooking with joy.
Heck no.
No.
No. So this is perfect. When I was home recently, I got to sit down with Sally and with Christopher, and we chatted about some of the recipes that she cooked from this book.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. We are not making one that she made on a regular basis.
Okay.
But I think you all are really going to like this one.
You know, I have very mixed feelings about this one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, some aspects I'm very excited.
Oh, yes.
Some aspects I'm kind of dreading.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so tell everybody the one you're dreading, and then we'll go into the one you're really excited about.
Okay, so we took this recipe from the potluck section
Yes.
because I've never been to a potluck that was not served buffet style.
Absolutely. So it's the perfect way to celebrate a National Buffet Day.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it is called the Hoot and Holler Whiskey Cake.
Yeah.
Very hootin' and hollery. And so I am super excited about the whiskey aspect.
I know you love whiskey.
I love whiskey. I am not so excited about the 1 pound of raisins that go into the cake.
Well, Carrie, here's the good news.
Okay.
You bought new raisins. We will not be using the raisins the size of chihuahuas from last season.
Can you imagine if we did? Like, there would not be enough room for the batter and those raisins.
Or any whiskey.
No.
Oh my gosh. So this cookbook is so hilarious. On the back of it, here's what Peg states. Some women, it is said, like to cook. This book is not for them. This book is for those of us who want to fold our dishwater hands around a dry martini instead of a wet flounder. So it's perfect. We want to fold our dishwater hands around a nice whiskey.
Yes.
Instead of raisins the size of chihuahuas.
Any day.
Yeah.
Any day. And the potluck section is also hilarious.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes. So she gives very good instructions on what you might want to do when confronted with a friend who is entertaining the idea of a potluck.
Exactly. Especially when you are a woman who does not like to cook.
Absolutely.
Yes. So her recommendation is when planning a potluck, beware the entree.
Oh, heck yeah. That's a big responsibility.
It is. She says it's usually the most trouble, as well as the most expensive.
True.
So her little tip is to totally praise one of your friends and say, hey, Eileen, I think you should bring the entree. You make the most delicious goulash. It's out of this world. Would you bring that?
That is so underhanded and fabulous.
I love it. And then she says, all the women who are standing around you will look like total jerks if they don't agree with you and say, oh, Eileen, your goulash is fabulous.
Exactly.
Yeah, so what a sneaky way to get out of making the entree for the potluck.
Throw poor Eileen under the bus.
I love it.
I like it. Whenever we were kids in school and we were asked to bring something in for, like the school equivalent of a potluck, right? Everybody brings in a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Our mom always said the first thing that we should sign up for was napkins or paper plates.
It's perfect. And it's so hilarious because it goes along with the title of this chapter, because the title is Chapter 5. Potluck suppers, or how to bring water for the lemonade.
That was our mom. She totally knew. She didn't need the cookbook. She had this all in hand.
Bring the paper products.
Always the paper products. I love it.
Oh, so much fun. So at the very beginning of this recipe, there's a suggestion from Peg.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's just dive into the recipe.
Yeah, because I really think that we really need to follow her suggestion here.
Yeah. Her first line of instructions are, first, take the whiskey out of the cupboard and have a small snort for medicinal purposes.
Oh, I think we should do that.
Yes. So we have here in front of us, ladies and gentlemen, 6 different bourbons and whiskeys.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I thought Kristen and I should do is try them all to decide which is going to pair best with a pound of raisins.
Exactly. And I must tell you all, these are none of my whiskeys or bourbons. These all came from Carrie's cabinet. And I believe she even had more.
Every last one. What can I say?
Okay.
I like the bourbon.
She likes the bourbon.
All right. So I have been thinking about the order in which we want to do this.
Yes.
And I'm going to start with the plain ones, and then we'll move to kind of the flavored ones.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So we're going to start with one. It is from a local distillery here in Georgia. It's Legends of Georgia. It is award-winning. Nice little plug out there for Legends.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. It's the 100 bourbon. And so we have 2 little shot glasses out here. So
please pour me a tiny, tiny bit. I don't want to be schnockered at the end of this episode.
I just want to share with you all
that's good.
that we're going to be thinking that we're pretty flippin' hilarious as this episode goes on, because Kristen and I both have empty stomachs. We are, I think, what someone might call lightweights.
Absolutely.
And we're going to try 6 bourbons. What could go wrong, I ask?
This is going to be scary. Okay, so Legends. Here we go.
Okay, first you have to take a little sniff.
Oh, it smells pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Okay, a little sippy.
All right, I'm going to watch Kristen sip it.
That's really smooth.
It is smooth, isn't it?
Wow, I was getting ready to say, that tastes like burning.
It does. It gives you that nice warmth that goes down your throat.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a smooth. Okay, so like some red wines and then some whiskeys or whatever it may be, I call it the face pucker.
Oh, yeah.
After I taste it, my face, I'm sorry, I have so much saliva in my mouth.
She's spitting strings of spit at my face.
Oh my gosh.
No more whiskey for Carrie. They're all me. All me.
This is going swimmingly.
Oh, I can't wait to see how it's going to be in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is no face pucker.
That was
very
good.
tasty.
Smooth. Nice.
Okay.
All right.
So the next one we're going to try is Blanton's.
Ooh, it's a fancy bottle.
It is very fancy. It has this little horse thing. Apparently, each bottle has a different. Well, there's like 8 different kinds of little horse little statues.
Like a little brass statue on the top of the cork. Oh, it is so gorgeous. It's kind of a faceted bottle. It's kind of short and squat. Please, just a dribble for me. I'm going to be in trouble, man.
I'm going to booze my sister up real good.
I slur my words in the best of times. Let alone drinking bourbon. I mean, she didn't even give us a shot.
Oh, I mean, these are
dribbles.
Not even a dram, as they would say in Scotland.
What does she say? A snort. I don't even know if this is a good snort.
I don't think so.
This is funny. This reminds me of the book I used to love to read to my son, Are You My Mother?
Okay.
And you get to the part where the little bird is trying to find his mother, and he comes across a big bulldozer. And he goes, Are you my mother? And then the machine makes a big noise. He goes, "You are not my mother. You are a snort.
That's
Let
right.
me get out of here."
All right, Kristen, try your snort of blame.
All right.
You got to smell it first.
It smells a little stronger than the other one, I think.
It does. There's a little spicy to
Yeah.
it, I think.
All right, chug a lug.
All right, here she goes down the hatch. Ooh, she did the whole thing. Oh, she wild and crazy. Oh, and her face. Oh my gosh. Not Kristen's favorite.
It tastes fine. This one really tastes like burning. We're not going to be using that on the whiskey cake, I don't think. Okay, not my favorite.
It's not my favorite. It has like a spiciness to it.
Yeah, it does. Do we get to move to any flavored ones yet? Or
No, one more.
Okay.
One more plain one.
All right.
This is, if y'all are Vampire Diaries fans,
Ooh.
the two actors that play the brothers on Vampire Diaries created a whiskey, bourbon. Yeah. It's called Brothers Bond.
Cool.
I love it.
Ooh, I can't wait to try it. Here we go.
Okay, so let's see if Kristen does the squinch face on this snort.
Good smell. It smells less spicy. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. I really do like that. Okay, now flavored time. Okay, I think I'm going to like this.
Yes. All right. So we have 3 flavors. I'm going to start with what I think is going to be the least flavory.
Oh,
and
good. Good idea.
To the strongest flavor.
Okay.
All right. So this next one, apparently I like to buy famous people's whiskeys. This one, Jamie Foxx.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had no idea that he had one. It is called Brown Sugar Bourbon.
Yum.
BSB. This one smells like brown sugar.
Yeah, it smells kind of sweet. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
It smells pretty good.
It does smell like brown sugar. My first sniff, it didn't. And now, oh, yeah.
It really does.
Oh, my.
Oh, the look on her face was one of joy and pleasure.
It's mild, and I actually perhaps taste some cinnamon.
Ooh, that's delicious.
Jamie Foxx, you done good.
So far, that's my top choice for the cake.
I love it.
Okay.
The cake, I think, is going to turn out to be like a fruit cake. Mm-hmm. It's going to have lots of raisins, pecans in it, and then it calls for nutmeg. It does not call for cinnamon. So I think maybe this little tiny bit of cinnamon, brown sugary. Ooh, the aftertaste of it is very brown sugary. I can still taste brown sugar in my mouth.
It's very tasty, and it's fun because the more we drink, the more difficult it becomes to say cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
Yes, exactly. So the next one we're going to do is a Knob Creek. If you are a whiskey fan or bourbon fan, Knob Creek is a fabulous brand.
Oh, good.
This one is smoked maple.
Oh, I can't wait to smell this and taste this. My tummy's feeling warm.
All of me, my cheeks. Oh, my cheeks feel so warm and happy.
We really are probably sipping a teaspoon worth of each one of these, but we're such lightweights.
By the time it's all said and done, I think we will have had 1 shot's worth.
Right. It's not much at all.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, so
Smellaroo.
Yep, this one smells very much like maple.
Ooh, very mapley.
And I noticed that the recipe did not have a frosting on it.
Right.
And maybe that's because it's like a fruitcake and nobody wants a frosting on it. Yeah. But you never know with a recipe.
That's true.
And so I thought, you know what? Let me just grab a couple recipes for icing. And so I have 2. One is whiskey buttercream, and one is maple whiskey buttercream.
Oh, delicious.
And I thought, if that's the way, if we want a frosting and we go with that recipe, maybe we'll want to use a little of the maple Knob Creek in with the maple whiskey buttercream.
Yes. What might also be delicious is a drizzle. So maybe we could leave out the butter and just do the powdered sugar mixed with whiskey and make a drizzle.
Oh my gosh, that would be potent.
It would, but she suggests at the end that you can wrap this sucker in foil, put it in your fridge, bring it out every now and again, poke it with an ice pick, and pour more whiskey on it.
She does indeed. Like, we're going to add the whiskey and then bake the booze off in the oven.
Right.
She's like, oh, forget that. Just put the whiskey in with an eyedropper and boozes that boy off.
So I don't have an eyedropper, nor do I have an ice pick. So I'm thinking maybe a whiskey drizzle might be the way to go.
It very well may. Little maple might be a nice addition.
So let's taste it.
All right. That
smells heavenly.
Yeah. It is. This is a really good one. I think if Kristen was going to have a whiskey neat, so far her choice is not this one.
It was kind of strong. I really like Jamie Foxx's better.
Okay.
Do you taste it and see what you think?
Give it a shot.
Oh boy. It was a little bit strong for me, but it definitely has a maple back end to it.
Yes, it's very good. It's very smooth.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think Jamie Foxx's brown sugar, to me, that has a much more mild alcohol flavor to it. This one is.
It does.
This one is hotter.
There's
your mouth
more
on fire.
Warm down your throat.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
No.
Not a bourbon. Good old Fireball.
Fireball. I think our friend Allison likes Fireball, doesn't she?
I hear that she has had a life experience with some Fireball.
Yep. Allison, who is an avid listener. We love you, Allison.
Took her by surprise the next morning. She thought for sure she had come down with a cold. Turns out it was a day full of Fireball.
Oh, no, that might be us tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I call Carrie and I'm like, I think I'm sick, will you remind me that it was the Fireball?
It was the Fireball.
Okay.
Now, this one's definitely going to burn going down because it is cinnamon, 100%.
It does smell good.
It does.
It smells like red hot candies.
Yes. Well, I think that's kind of what it's going to taste like.
Oh, my gosh. Do you remember when we were kids, Dad's favorite candy were those atomic fireballs?
Oh, I do.
They were atomic fireballs, but he would call them atomic fireballs.
Because it sounds spicier.
Yeah.
He loved them.
It was so fun. He doesn't love them anymore.
I don't know. I couldn't do it. They were too spicy for me.
Dad and I had fun. We would each kind of try to keep it in our mouth the longest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was a kid that couldn't chew cinnamon gum.
Oh.
I mean, who are we joking? I'm an adult that has eaten a meal that my husband has prepared and said, what's in this? It's really spicy. And he's like, black pepper.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's good.
Carrie is perfectly suited for a lot of these Midwestern Ohio 1970s recipes that we cook because they don't have any spice.
Right. Oh, yeah. They're kind of my jam.
Oh, we're going to have something extra special in our next episode. Ooh. I don't know if Carrie's going to like it.
I don't know, but I think Kristen is postponing.
I am drinking the Fireball. I'm a little scared. It really does taste like an atomic Fireball.
It does, with a slightly medicinal taste.
Yeah. I don't think we should go for that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I could do large quantities of that either.
I don't know. Maybe a water chaser. How old am I? Could I have me a half a shot of Fireball and a cup of ice water?
Cup of ice water. I think that sounds right. Okay, so I think that the decision is very clear.
Yep.
Jamie Foxx and brown sugar bourbon is the way to go.
Somebody tag Jamie Foxx in this.
Ooh, yeah.
I love Jamie Foxx.
I think Jamie Foxx definitely wants to link his bourbon with Hoot and Holler whiskey cake.
And Mom's Wooden Spoon.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, seriously, he was on In Living Color. Perfect to go along with our throwback podcast.
Oh, I had no idea he was on In Living Color.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. How about that?
Okay. Well, let's get started making this cake so we can get on to the eating of this cake.
All right.
Okay, so the ingredients are just basically your basic cake. I said basically your basic cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good talk here on
We have all kinds of good talk, guys. We've had whiskey.
Woohoo! So it's just your basically basic butter, sugar, eggs, flour, baking powder, salt, a little bit of that nutmeg, milk. Ooh, a special treat, a molasses.
Yes.
And then your baking soda, a whole pound of raisins, 2 cups of pecans, and some bourbon whiskey, only a quarter a cup.
I know, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
I think the
glaze or frosting or the ice pick.
Or the ice pick.
Yeah.
And you think about it, they didn't have these delicious, fabulous choices in the 60s either. It would have been, I'm assuming, just a couple of options.
Yep.
And there you go.
All right. Do you want to do the dry ingredients? Mix those up?
Sure.
So I think you have to do the flour, baking powder, salt, and nutmeg.
All right.
And we don't do this baking soda right away, which is so cool. You're supposed to mix it with the molasses.
Yes.
Isn't that weird? I wonder why. I wonder if it has a chemical reaction or something.
Ooh, science.
Science.
Do you think it'll flare up and make like a volcano?
Flare. She said flare.
All this time, it could have been having molasses and baking soda volcanoes.
Nice.
Ooh.
All right. So I have pre-softened the butter and I did not put it in my bra.
Well, there's a first for everything around here, people.
Okay, an entire cup of sugar.
Yay. Ooh, all right, so Kristen, while you're doing that, I decided that it would be very important that I learn a little bit more about whiskey or bourbon.
Yeah.
I was like, why? Why did we end up with a hoot and holler whiskey cake? What would be the point here? And I noticed that there is an ingredient that is not in this recipe that you very often find in cakes.
What is that?
Vanilla.
Oh, that's right. We love our vanilla.
We do. And so what I learned is that they frequently used whiskey in things like this in place of vanilla because vanilla was so blooming expensive back at that time.
How cool is that?
I thought that was interesting. All right, y'all, just as a side note, I'm watching Kristen very carefully measure the sugar.
Stop making fun of me.
Something she has done multiple times, smooths out the top of the sugar carefully over the container of sugar and spills it everywhere.
You are such a jerk. You did not have to tell people. They cannot see me. You could have just moved on with your daggone whiskey talk. But oh no, you gotta make fun of me to the whole public.
Kristen needs more bourbon. All right, so the whiskey is supposed to kind of replace the flavor of vanilla.
Yeah.
In the cake. That was kind of interesting. Then I also learned that there was a whole slew of whiskey cakes. Slew of whiskey cakes.
Is that what they do on Hee Haw? Salud.
Did they do that on
Salud. I think they did.
Oh, I think that's cheers in Spain.
Oh,
salud. All right. Anyway, they call these whiskey cakes tipsy cakes.
Ooh.
I'm assuming it's because the bakers tried out all the whiskey.
I'm assuming so.
I don't know, just saying.
Yeah.
They also, much like our chef mentions, they put the whiskey in to preserve the cake.
Oh, yeah. Like she said, the cake will last for months and months in the fridge.
So back in the day when they didn't have a fridge, you just add a bunch of whiskey to the cake and voila, cake for days.
Ooh, cake for days. Mm-hmm. And you know what I researched when I was looking up whiskey? Because this recipe, Hoot and Holler, which is so cool, it's all one word, and then it has whiskey spelled Whisky.
Oh, there's a reason.
There is a reason. Yeah. I had to look it up. Did you already know the reason?
I did.
Oh, you're so good.
Well, it's because I have a love. I mean, I have multiple loves, but one would also be whiskey. I'm just going to keep talking as Kristen tries to figure out why there is an E sometimes.
I'm struggling. I was going to tell you all, and I haven't written down, and my eyes wouldn't focus.
Sounds, Kristen.
Okay, now that you're mean again to me, whiskey with an E refers to whiskey that was distilled in Ireland in the U.S.
Yes.
And whiskey with no E refers to Scottish or Canadian whiskey.
Yes.
So she must have used Scottish or Canadian whiskey for her cake. We're going to pause for a minute. I am going to go cream the sugar and the butter, and you don't need to hear that.
If she trips on the way to the blender, I am going to lose my crap. It's a mixer.
It's
whatever.
Bye. Okay, so the butter and sugar is creamed. I am getting ready to add the 3 beaten eggs. But before I do that, I want to tell you that Carrie is not one to talk about me making spills and doing weird stuff. She gets ready to pour the salt into the measuring spoon and starts to almost pour it into an upside down measuring spoon.
She's lies, I tell you, lies. Go use your mixer.
Okay, so I'm getting ready to add the flour mixture. The eggs are all mixed in with the butter and sugar, and this smells so yummy.
I added some extra nutmeg.
I love nutmeg.
Counteract the raisins.
Anything we can do to counteract the raisins.
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's blended up. Hopefully Carrie won't mention the fact that I think I spilled half the flour mixture on the counter.
She's taking it from a bowl with a place to pour it, a pour spout, into a huge bowl and missed. I mean, what else? I decided I would get started on molasses because it's molasses, right? Kristen and I are both sweating over here thinking it's due to the bourbon, but it must be warm because I'm telling you that molasses poured super quickly.
Super quickly. All right. We sprayed the measuring cup with a little bit of Pam so that it would slide on out. Now you've got to add the baking soda. Let's see how much. A 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This will be interesting to see on a blind.
I really wish We mentioned that we thought that it would be fun if it was recorded because Kristen gesticulates.
Oh, that it would be recorded on video.
Yeah, it is recorded.
we do record it, Carrie.
Yeah. Anyway, I wish you could see it. Apparently, Kristen needs some readers when she drinks bourbon because every time she goes to do something next, her neck like elongates by 1.5 feet. Her head gets exceptionally close to the recipe. She blinks like
Oh my gosh,
rapidly. It's hilarious. Y'all are missing out on a really good time.
Oh,
I'm saying.
I am so glad we do not video record this. Okay, is it puffing up like a volcano as you put that baking soda in the molasses?
It's done absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Not a darn tootin' thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so she's going to mix that up. Let's see. Actually, we have to add the milk next.
Into the molasses?
No, into the batter.
Oh, okay.
And then comes the 10 gazillion pounds of raisins and the whiskey.
Is it wrong that as we're standing here chatting, I'm thinking it would be so much better if I had just a little more nip of whiskey?
I think you should, Carrie.
Okay, speaking of whiskey, there are some, well, actually, speaking of bourbon.
Ooh, okay.
Which is basically whiskey, but in a charred barrel instead of a non-charred barrel.
Oh,
in case you were curious.
I was.
Yeah. There are some bourbon terms that I felt were worth mentioning.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay. So the first one, which I thought was incredibly appropriate given this recipe, is a wet cake.
A wet cake.
A wet cake. The place I found gave you some examples of potential answers.
Oh.
I thought instead of actually reading those, I'd tell you the correct one.
Yes, please.
Which is the wet grain that is left over after fermenting.
She really needs to take another shot, doesn't she, folks?
It's the wet grain left over
from
after
fermentation.
All right, and I saved my favorite for last.
Okay.
Bunghole. Oh my God. That's terrible. What? Look on her face. I'm telling it's a bourbon term. It is a bourbon term.
I think it is a...
Oh, yeah, let's hear. What do you think it is,
It's
Kristen?
a Beavis and Butthead term.
Bunghole.
Got TP for my bunghole?
It is a hole that is used to fill or empty the barrel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I way prefer that than what Beavis does. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've added the molasses. Gosh, a pound of raisins is one of those entire like oatmeal sized containers.
It's a lot.
You know those
raisins.
Round oatmeal containers?
Yeah, I know
That's
exactly.
a lot of raisins.
It is all the raisins.
But they are not gigantic raisins, so this is good. They are generic.
It's raisin cake is basically what
we're making. Basically, raisin nut cake.
Yeah.
Oh my golly.
Hoot and holler raisin cake.
Wow.
Which takes me to hoot and holler.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so do you know what to hoot and holler is?
To hoot and holler is to make a big fuss, right?
Yeah, something kind of angry,
Oh yeah.
You're displeased with something, so you hoot and holler about it.
Couldn't hoot and holler be having a good time? I'm gonna hoot and holler.
Yeah. To define it, they say is, not pleasant.
Oh, not pleasant. Okay.
Yeah. All right, but there is something called a hoot and a holler.
Oh,
different. Yes.
Wow.
And a hoot and a holler is a distance.
No way.
Just head on down a hoot and a holler,
Oh.
and you'll see the Ingalls on your left.
That makes sense. It sounds like it would be something from like Appalachia.
Yes.
Where they had hollers.
Which is?
Like a depression. It's like in between the mountains is the holler.
Correct. So you could live in a holler.
Yep.
And you could travel a hoot and a holler to get to the holler.
Oh, and you know what? That makes sense no. I was just going to say that would make sense that hoot and hollers would have something to do with whiskey, but they don't. But because the people who settled in Appalachia were Scottish, and they would, of course, know how to make whiskey.
Right.
And so they would also...
With the E?
Without the E. And so that's where this cake came from. Scottish people who
live in Appalachia.
And were hooting and hollering.
In the holler.
Yep.
Down a hoot and a holler.
Yep. I wonder if they were having a hootenanny hoot.
Well, so that brings me to a hootenanny.
Oh, okay. So tell me what a hootenanny is, because there is a movie out there called A Hootenanny Hoot.
I don't have any idea about that movie, but there was a 1960s variety show called Hootenanny.
See, I think those were really popular in the 60s because my husband's dad had the record album from the movie Hootenanny Hoot.
I didn't know it was a movie.
Yeah.
How about that? Well, it
Pretty
was a TV show in the 60s. It was a musical variety show.
How cool.
It was specifically for like folk music.
Yeah, that's what this movie was about. It was about them filming a hootenanny variety show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, they were not friends of all folk music.
Oh.
And so there were some folk music groups they refused to have on the show.
Really?
And that caused quite a big to-do.
Oh, my goodness.
But they did have people on the show like Johnny Cash.
Oh, really?
Who I do not think of as folk music. And the Smothers Brothers.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. They had other people that I'd never heard of, so I didn't tell you that. And then they ended up getting canceled when the British invasion occurred because nobody cared about folk music.
Darn those Beatles.
That's right. All they wanted to do was scream and run after some Beatles and Stones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. So we have to do the chopped pecans and then the whiskey. So we need 2 cups of the pecans. Why don't I do that and you do the whiskey? All right.
Please.
Well,
that's such a great idea. Some for me, some for the cake.
Yeah.
Well, I like the way you think.
Just in case you thought this entire episode was going to be about whiskey and hootenannies, it's not.
What? It should be.
I know. Well, Carrie and I were not born in the 60s, but I thought it would be fun to take a look at what were some really popular things in the 60s that we still used or talked about in the 70s and 80s.
I've got one.
What?
Mini skirts.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still popular in the 70s. Well, in the 80s too, really.
Well, now.
And now.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I found this cool article called 20 Things That All 60s Kids Remember.
Did it have mini skirts?
It did.
Oh,
it did. But I just put down the ones that I really remember because I wasn't wearing mini skirts probably now. Certainly not now.
I don't know. Do you remember seeing us as kids in our outfits? And how
they were
ridiculously short.
They were. We had like tights underneath, of course.
Yes.
But, yeah, they were really short. Okay.
Crazy
so
short.
I guess we did wear mini skirts.
Yeah.
They had go-go boots on there too. We never wore go-go boots though.
No.
But one of the things was Tang. Do you remember having Tang?
I do.
Yeah.
And it was famous because it went into outer space.
It was.
Poor astronauts had to drink Tang.
And guess what? They all complained about it.
Really?
Yes.
Shut up, I had no idea.
They totally did. They all thought it was absolutely disgusting, except for John Glenn. He seemed to apparently like it.
Poor John.
I know. I remember Mom taking us to Disney. You might have been in utero at this point.
Well, I did spend years trying to convince you that I had seen all things Disney via our mother's belly button.
That is correct. And so Mom, in order to do it on the cheap, brought bread and peanut butter and jelly and Tang.
Oh.
Yeah, because she could just pour some good old tap water into that sucker and we would have lunch.
Delicious.
Free of charge.
How nice. I remember having to go out. We'd go various places and having to go out to the car.
Yes.
And get the cooler and eat sitting out at the car.
Yeah, or at a picnic table someplace close.
Yes.
And that was a real bummer. I would have preferred to eat the fun food at the Disney.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But you know what? When you're doing all you can to take your kids to Disney, it's okay to drink some Tang and make some PB&Js. That's for sure. Okay, so before we put this in a greased and floured loaf pan, I did want to tell you one of the other things that was a carryover from the 60s that I definitely had.
Okay.
Banana seat bike.
Oh, you had like a beautifully 70s banana seat bike.
I did. It had a sunflower on the banana seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and it was so cool. And then I went and broke my jaw riding down the driveway on the bike and was scared to ride the bike from hence on.
I loved your banana seat bike.
Yeah.
So much so that I am sure I also had a banana seat bike.
Yeah.
Zero memories of my own. I couldn't even begin to tell you what mine looked like.
Right.
I know what yours look like, and I know what my best friend Jay's look like.
Oh my gosh.
But not a clue about mine because obviously yours were way flipping cooler than mine.
Yeah, it was so cool. And it was completely wasted on me because after second grade breaking ye old jaw, I wanted nothing to do with the bicycle.
But Kristen in her deviousness.
Oh,
Our mom, she must have read this in a parenting book,
yeah,
would, when you got in trouble, she'd make you pick your punishment.
that's true.
And Kristen, in all her deviousness, would cry and cry. And I guess I won't ride my bike.
It was perfect. I didn't want to ride my bike.
You couldn't pay her to ride her bike. The punishment would have been making her ride her bike.
That's right. Oh no, Mom's going to find out about my deviousness.
Oh, God. Too late. She is so not sorry, not even a little bit.
Nope.
I have to tell you that this is the chunkiest, raisiniest
It is.
batter. You know how when you watch the Great British Bake Off and they make a cake with like fruit or nuts or something like it?
Yeah.
They always tell you to coat the fruits in flour so that they all don't sink to the bottom.
Yep.
There is no way
No.
that these could all sink to the bottom because there's so much.
There are more raisins and nuts in this than batter.
We should add more whiskey.
Let's wait till the end.
Okay, with our whiskey drizzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to put this in a loaf pan.
Yeah, that's
So it's a cake, but it's really a loaf.
Really? A loaf? Oh my Lord, I think this loaf pan is too small.
After a moment of massive panic, Kristen has greased and floured a new loaf pan that is larger than the first loaf pan. She's looking much, much calmer in her drunken moves.
It was a panic mode there because I had only put in maybe the first tiny blob and it was already filling up that small loaf pan. It was a normal loaf pan. I have now gotten out my double size loaf pan.
Super huge.
It's super huge and it is filling the whole blooming thing.
I gotta take a picture of this stuff because it is something to behold, y'all.
It is kind of gloppy and really lumpy. Let me get it kind of spread out in the pan so people can see, and then we'll pop this sucker in the oven.
And it bakes for 2 hours.
Yeah. All right, we have it in the pan. We're going to pop this in the oven for 2 whole hours.
But fear not, we're going to talk to you for the next 2 hours while we drink some more bourbon.
I think that's a great idea, Carrie.
What could be more exciting for you guys?
I know. Put on your listening ears.
Oh my gosh. I'm cutting her off. It has been 2 long hours.
Oh, yeah. Plus some cooling time.
Yes. And we have the Hoot and Holler whiskey cake out of the oven.
Oh, yeah.
It came out beautifully.
It really did. It looks dark like a fruit cake, chock full of, well, fruit.
Lot of raisins.
Oh, yeah.
They did fall to the bottom, but it's not all of them.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. But we did go crazy. And instead of making an icing, we made a drizzle.
Yep.
I did half whiskey, half water, and a whole bunch of powdered sugar.
I can't wait to taste it.
And yeah, it tasted good on my finger. I used the brown sugar bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully that'll be good. So I don't know. Without further ado, shall we dig in?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh my gosh.
I'll tell you, when I took the cake out of the oven, the whole thing was so heavy. It felt like it weighed a gazillion pounds. And the outside was so perfectly done that it really slid right off the cooling rack when I dumped it out of the pan. So well cooked. Is it moist?
So we have an end piece.
Yeah.
So it's a little drier. The edges are a little crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
It is incredibly dense. I'm not a big fan of raisins and things, but they add a nice sweetness to it that I'm quite surprised by. I didn't really expect it. I will say that I think the drizzle is a must. There's no whiskey flavor at all in the cake. And then that little bit of whiskey that you got from the drizzle was kind of a nice little... I can see why she said stab it with a ice pick and add some whiskey because it really would be good.
Oh, delicious to have more. Because it's not overwhelmingly whiskey at all.
No, and it's not overwhelmingly sweet.
No, it really is a very, unsweet cake. I'll tell you what's so delicious is where those raisins contacted the bottom and the sides of the pan. They caramelized and almost make it like a toffee-ish flavor. It's really delicious.
I was expecting way worse than I just tried. Like that many raisins, I thought for sure it was going to be a no-go. But I'd eat a bite of that.
Oh my goodness, I would eat an entire slice. And the beauty of it is, like she says in the cookbook, You could make this a month in advance. When it comes time for the buffet or the potluck meal, you say, ooh, I'll bring dessert. You don't have to do anything, but maybe whip up a fresh drizzle for it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
The idea of a month in advance still totally creeps me out.
I know, but with the whiskey in that, fruitcakes sit around
I know.
for a very long time, and that's what makes them delicious, is they keep soaking them in the liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose you could, but don't tell anybody that it's been hanging out your house for
I
a
know,
month
right?
because they may, kind of find that creepy.
That's right. Ooh, I would say all in all, if you like fruitcake type of dense cakes that are not very sweet, I think this would be the perfect cake for you. I think it'd be great with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it is by no means a birthday cake. I mean, it's not something that you're going to want to serve in that regard. But I totally get it for a buffet. It wouldn't even have to be dessert.
Yeah.
I'd say for buffet day, that really ended up not being a bad choice.
Well, hot dog. Good on us.
Yeah. I mean, woohoo, win for Mom's Wooden Spoon.
Yeah, hootenanny hoot.
Well, that is it for today's episode. As always, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check out our blog on our website and be sure to not miss our next episode coming out on January 15th. We will be cranking up the heat for another strange holiday. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Mom's Wooden Spoon. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. If you want a copy of this recipe or to check out our blog, click on the link to our website in the podcast description. If you'd rather, you could get to our website through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Pick your poison.
Don't say poison. We're making food.
Show me the way to go.
Kristen's going to start singing pirate drinking songs any second now.
That's right.